Welcome into the In the Money podcast for KeenelandSelect.com for Saturday, June 16th. Stephen Foster Handicap Night at Churchill Downs. That Grade 1 headlines a card that features 5 graded stakes races. They are all included in a Pick 5, 4 of them in a Pick 4, so some neat betting opportunities. I'm Tom Leach along with Jim Goodman from Keeneland, and we're going to take a look at those 5 stakes races, starting with the Grade 3 Matt Winn for 3-year-olds in Race 5 at a mile and a 16th. Big favorite in here, Jim, in Axeman, and hard to see him not getting home first.
Yeah, I guess they just wanted to make sure that Mike Smith had a little walking around money after last weekend at the Belmont. So he's going to come in and ride Axeman in a $100,000 race. So that'll pay for his flight from California. They're going to walk around Justify. I've heard now I think it's before the 3rd race, and show him off, and they're going to reward the Kentucky Derby trophy to the connection. So Mike and Bob Baffert are going to be there. So it'll be a Triple Crown celebration at Churchill on Saturday night. I think Axeman is a free square in the Pick 5. He was just unbelievable on Preakness Day. I mean, it looked like he was in the wrong race. He ran into Sir Barton at a mile and 16, and I believe he'd run second in the Preakness that day. But he's late developing, obviously. Only had 2 races last year, and then was off, or actually had 2 races early this year, then off for about a month and a half. So he's run 4 races this year. It's kind of like his barn mate Justify. He's gotten really good, really quick. So I think he's a single here. I can't see anybody beating him. Funny Duck, the horse that won the Pat Day Mile in the slop on Derby Day, if it rains, could have a shot. But I expand single.
Yeah, same with me. Home Base and Combatant were the 2 that I listed as if you're playing exactas, but they probably wouldn't pay much either. So this might be one just to watch, and then because it's all stakes Pick 5 that this starts, so you can look at it as a free square and play it that way. 6th race is the Grade 2 Wise Dan on the turf for 3-year-olds and up, mile and a 16th. I'm guessing World Approval will probably go favored here, but I just don't think he's looked like his old self in the 2 starts this year. So I'm going to Visadero. Loves Churchill Downs, and the race off the layoff was good, and now ought to move forward with that one under his belt. But I tell you, the horse that intrigues me a little bit is Shining Copper, the 2. I don't know if there's a whole lot of speed in here, and I could see this horse taking him a long way, and that might be, a horse you could key with Visadero and World Approval in exactas within the race. But Visadero is going to be my win pick, but I'll use Shining Copper, World Approval. Inspector Lindley, I thought, was worth a look too. There really wasn't anybody in here that I would just completely discard, but Visadero is my win pick. How about you?
You're a brilliant man, Mr. Leach, because it's exactly how I saw it. I like Visadero on top because he's 3 for 3 at Churchill. Second race under a new trainer. They moved the trainer to Kelly Rubley, and Visadero ran well in the Monmouth Grade 2 race at Monmouth on May 26th. Should move forward off that race, and 3 for 3 at Churchill. I would never bet against him at Churchill Downs. But World Approval, if you're playing a Pick 4, Pick 5, you got to use him just on back class. I mean, you'd hate to get beat by World Approval at 9 to 5. So when we get to Pick 4 and Pick 5, I'm going to use him. But I'm like you as well. Shining Copper, if you look at the running lines, Shining Copper is going to get the lead here. There's no question about it. And at a mile and 16th, he's 5 for 8. He served as a rabbit for some of the stablemates, in particular the Pizza Man and Big Blue Kitten, back in Grade 1s in 2015. But he's been a good horse in his own right for the last couple of years. And I think that he came back from the Barbados Gold Cup back to the Churchill Turf Classic on Derby Day. It didn't run very well. Probably didn't like the yielding turf. He'll probably get firm turf on Saturday night. So I think Shining Copper's got a big chance, and I'll include him in the Pick 4. But I think the Visadero Shining Copper exacta might be in order here.
Let's go to the 7th race, the Grade 2 Fleur de Lis Handicap. This is a mile and an 1/8 for fillies and mares 3 and up. I thought a well-matched group here. Where did you land?
Yeah, I had a hard time separating these horses. I think this is probably the most wide-open betting race of the sequence. I couldn't eliminate a lot in here. To keep the ticket low, I did eliminate some horses, but I'm scared of the ones I left out. I can make a case for Furiously Kissed, Apology Not Accepted. I'm not using either one of those in the Pick 4. My top pick is Farrell, the 9 horse for Wayne Catalano. Off that race in La Troyenne, She ran a big race and got beat by Salty, one of your favorite horses, but was not disgraced at all, and really led her to 50 yards from the finish line. Got beat by length and 3/4. So there's no Salty in here. It's not a grade 1. It's a grade 2 race. So dropping in class off that and the Apple Blossom, I think Farrell's got a big shot in here. Mopatism, the 2, also dropping in class off the Gamely grade 1 and Santa Margarita grade 1 at Santa Anita. Doug O'Neill ships them cross country. We talked about this before. When he ships them out of California, they got a shot. So Mopatism is a player in here. Of the ones that ran together at Fairgrounds, I think I like Valadorna the best. She was the most consistent from our Cassie. B.J. Hernandez rides her. He's a regular rider, and he's been the leading rider at Churchill and been hot the whole meet. So I'm going to throw her in there as well. And of the rest, I can make a case for a bunch of them, but Song of Spring ran well at Pimlico on a sloppy racetrack. And, she's moving forward. I don't know how good she is on a fast track, but I would use her as well. So that's the 4 I would use. But Farrell is a very shaky win pick. I could also be talked into Mopatism.
And that's where I'm going is Mopatism. Coming out of those 2 grade 1s, I think this is a softer spot. If you look back at the race on February 10th, that 95 buyer would stack up really well here. And I think this horse might get a little overlooked and could get a decent price. I think this horse has got a big shot at, and I think the price I'm going to get intrigues me as well. Farrell, Valadorna were the next 2 for me. Blue Prize likes this track and I think is a big player here. Song of Spring ran a really nice race, ran 3rd behind Valadorna at Keeneland, then came back and won up at Pimlico. Looked good doing it. So probably use all of those. Don't have a real strong opinion on anything close to a single or anything, but I think Mopatism at a nice price I'm going to go with here in the Fleur de Lis. 8th race, the Stephen Foster, grade 1. They'll go a mile and an 1/8. And I'm not as sold on Backyard Heaven as I am on Axeman, but it's not too far away. I can't make a case to get him beat. That 105 buyer on Oaks Day was just so impressive, and a 108 buyer before that. And this horse looks like a grade 1 type, certainly, that it's there for the taking for him. So if I am so sold on a horse that's going to be odds on, I got to try to beat the likely second favorite out of second place, and I think that's Irish War Cry. So I'm going to try to go against that one. Honorable Duty and Patch were the first 2 that I looked at. But there's a horse that I'm going to throw in here for the underneath and the exacta. Maybe you could play around with it, a try or a superfecta, depending on how good the price is. And I think it's going to be good is the 5 Matru. This horse ran a 102 buyer in his second start for a new trainer. That's noteworthy. The new trainer, that could always change a horse. And that was unsynthetic up at Arlington. And that could have been what moved him up. But I went back and watched the race, and he looked like he was climbing early until he got him out from that spray, out away from the pack and out in the middle, away from horses. And then he ran at a much better action in the stretch. So I don't think it was the synthetic that moved him up. I think maybe it's the new trainer. And this horse ran very close 3rd in the Grade 1 Cigar Mile back in 2015. So there's some back class there. And I'm going to try that horse at a price underneath Backyard Heaven in some bets to see if he can run back to that 102 buyer last time, because that would stack up very well with anybody but Backyard Heaven. But Backyard Heaven's the strong win pick for me in the Stephen Foster. How about you?
Yeah, I think so too. I think Backyard Heaven comes anywhere close to his last 2 races. He runs off with this. I could make a case for singling him when we get to pick 4 and pick 5, but I hate to throw out a horse with the back class of Irish War Cry. He's very inconsistent. But he ran second in the Belmont Stakes last year. He was not that far out of it in Haskell. He hasn't been quite the same horse, but he did get back to 100 buyer at Pimlico on Preakness Day in the Pimlico Special, and he won by 4.5. He won really easily that day. So if he's cycling back to where he was last year, he fits well with these horses. He's got a lot more experience than Backyard Heaven, so I'm going to use him as well. Backyard Heaven would be my win pick. I think Pavel, the 9 horse, is intriguing to me. He's battle tested. It gets much tougher. They shipped him over to Dubai to run the World Cup. Thought he was outclassed there, but he only got beat by 7 3/4 to Thunder Snow at West Coast. So if those horses were in this race, they'd be odds on. So, and then he came back in the Gold Cup at Santa Anita. He wasn't disgraced, but he got beat pretty well by Accelerate and it looks like they didn't persevere with him. They used 2 lengths out of it, and he went up get big by 9 3/4. So that may have not taken out much out of him. So he intrigues me a lot, and I'm going to use him in the pick 4 as well. But my pick will be Backyard Heaven with Irish War Cry and Pavel underneath. The next horse I would take would be Honorable Duty, simply because of Brendan Walsh and Corey Lannery.
9th race is the Grade 3 Regret. 3-year-old filly is going 1 mile and an 1/8 on the turf, and I think this is a really nice race in terms of get a chance to get a nice payoff here. I don't know that there's a clear standout, and it's a big field. Where did you land in the Regret?
Yeah, I'm like one of the earlier races that we talked about. You can't eliminate a lot of horses. There's a lot of chances in here. I did settle on Beyond Blame. I went back and looked at the Edgewood, and she got a really bad trip there. I mean, Florent almost stood up on her, and she came on. She got beat by 6 lengths. She was never really in the race, but she had a legitimate excuse, and I think she was moving forward before that race and had a chance in there at 13-1. And those horses that beat her, Toinette, Rushing Fall, and Daddy is a Legend, are all really good horses. And so I'm thinking she might get a better trip here, and may move up, and she's going to have to beat some of these horses. Like Stave, the 13, was intriguing. Larry Jones has this horse going the right way, even though she's only run twice, once at Keeneland, once at Churchill, and she's gotten a lot better from her earlier races at Fairgrounds, with an 85 buyer and 82 buyer with 2 fairly easy wins. I think she's got a shot as well. She's pretty lucky. The 3-horse won on the dirt in a $100,000 optional claimer, but has been very competitive at this level on the grass. I'm going to throw in one more just for old time's sake. Heavenly Love is a filly that we thought was going to be really special after she won the Alcibiades so easily at Keeneland. I mean, she looked like the next coming of Zenyatta in that race. I mean, she was that good on the dirt, and then they came back in the juvenile fillies, and she just threw a clunker. Trying her back on the turf where she started her career, and she came back and ran well in the Appalachian on a yielding turf course. So I think she can move up too, but that might be a sentimental pick for me. But I think she's got a shot. I can make a case for a couple others in here too, but I'm gonna leave with those 4 and see what you like.
I am going for one of those others. Romantic Moment. The horse that she beat last time, Cash Out, it was an allowance race, but that's a horse that Rusty Arnold's been very high on back to last fall. And I talked to him for an interview in the paddock at Keeneland this spring to see if he still felt as good about her, and he said he did. And she'd run a lot of graded stakes races, and they dropped her down in an allowance last time, thinking I believe that, okay, let's just get her a win, get her confidence back. And she ran into a good thing in Romantic Moment. And I went back and watched the race, and I just loved how she kicked away from what I think was a pretty good field. She set a uncontested lead, but pace wasn't especially slow on wet ground. And then when they turned into the stretch, she kicked away from them with authority. Followed that up with a bullet workout for Shug. So I think this horse in 2 starts on the turf has been sensational, and I think she's just found her home on the grass. And I'm going to take a shot with her for a bit of a price. I'm going to use Cash Out. Go Google yourself. First time on the turf, but I think has some class. Stave I'm going to use. Go, Noni, Go. Throw Beyond Blame in there too. This is a spread out race, but I'm going to try to make a little money with keying around Romantic Moment within the race. So we both are going to single Axeman in a pick 5. So let's go to our pick 4 that starts in the 6th, the All Stakes pick 4. What's your ticket look like?
All right, so if you're going to single Axeman, obviously you can do the pick 5 for exactly the same amount of money and try to get a little bit better payoff. But there's going to be a whole lot of people playing that the same way you're playing with Axeman, so it may pay less than pick 4. I've got a ticket here that I couldn't come up with a single. I had a hard time in here, and I think if you really like the 6 in the feature race, that's possibly your single with Backyard Heaven, but I didn't go that way. I'm going to spread out here. So first leg, I'm going to use the 1-4, the Visadero, and World Approval to keep the ticket low, but I'm probably going to throw in Shining Copper if I play a ticket myself. So I'm going to go 1-2-4. It's going to end up costing us $96, but it might be worth it to get Shining Copper in there at the price. Second race, that's 1-2-4 in the first leg. Second race, I'm going to use the 4 I talked about, 2-7-8-9. That's Mopatism, Valladorna, Song of Spring, and Farrell. The third leg, 1-6-8-9 in the Stephen Foster, and that's Honorable Duty, Backyard Heaven, Irish War Cry, and Pavel. And then the last leg, I'm going to go 4 deep in the Regret. And that's probably not enough, because if you notice, we mentioned about 7 horses there between our 8 picks. So Heavenly Love, the 1, she's pretty lucky. The 3, the 8, Beyond Blame, and the 13, Stakes. So that's 1, 2, 4 with 2, 8, 2, 7, 8, 9 with 1, 6, 8, 9 with 1, 3, 8, 13.
Sixth race, I'll go with 3 horses, the 1, 2, and 4. Divisadero, Shining Copper, World Approval. Then I'm going to go 5 deep in the Fleur de Lis, Mopatism. So I'll go 2, 3, 5, 7, 9. Mopatism, Blue Prize, Song of Spring, Valadorna, and Farrell. Single the 6, Backyard Heaven in the Stephen Foster. And then I'm going 6 deep in the last leg. Romantic Moment, the 11, is the one I really like the best, but I'm also going to use the 6, 7, 8, 12, and 13 plus the 11. So that's Cash Out, Go Google Yourself, Beyond Blame, Go Noni Go, and Stave. So 6 horses there. So my ticket is $90 for $1, 50 cents be $45 by singling Backyard Heaven in the Stephen Foster. And again, there's an all-stakes pick 5 that starts on the 5th. Good card.
It is a good card. And I think my numbers were not 2, 8, 7, 9. They were 2, 5, 7, 9. I was used Song of Spring in that second leg. So 1, 2, 4 with 2, 5, 7, 9 with 1, 6, 8, 9 with 1, 3, 8, 13. Good card. I'm going to go up there myself and see Justify parade in the paddock and out on the track before the 3rd race. So it's going to be a nice night to go to Churchill Downs. If you can't do it, play on your Keeneland Select account.
Indeed. Best of luck with your wagers, and we will be back next week for another edition of the In the Money podcast for KeenelandSelect.com.